You're listening to Living Beyond with Hope. Hey, that's me.
Welcome to the podcast. This podcast is meant to help you realize you're more than a label, and you too can create a life you love despite it. Each week, we bring you tips and inspiring messages to help you take the positive steps in your health that will allow you to live beyond. Now sit back, relax, meal prep, or take a walk as you dig into today's topic with your host, a gal living her life to the fullest with type 1 diabetes, Hope Mangiafico.
Welcome back to the show. Now, right up front, I just want to encourage you to go listen to episode 2 and 3 if you have not yet. Order is not super significant, but I do kind of build them up to prepare you for this episode. And the story is going to be the same, but today we're going to talk about a little positive attitude and how significant it is and how it changed my life. But before we dive into that, I gotta read you the story. So thanks so much for hanging in with me and for tuning in and listening to my storytelling and learning and allowing me to serve you. So let's hop in. There was a man who knew, since he was 12 years old, exactly what he wanted in life. He knew what school he wanted to graduate from. He knew his alma mater since he was crawling. He knew what kind of car he would drive by 25. He knew how much money he would make at his dream job. So, at a very young age, he chased his dreams. He succeeded at some, but more often than not, he took 10 steps backwards each time. During this time, his attention, it was on the things, the car, the money, the job, because that's what he thought was important to him. But as his mid-30s approached, he felt useless because majority of his dreams, they didn't come true. And it's not something we would blame him for. It wasn't his fault because he was never told to not focus on the things of this world. Rather, it was because his time and attention were in the wrong place. There's no issue with wanting to have your dream car and job and house and graduating from a particular school, but the challenge is attaining that if your attention is not where it needs to be. Like this man, where you place your attention determines if you can access your dreams. It's what allows you to reach heights that you never knew were possible, higher altitudes than you could have ever imagined. You see, once he stopped being filled with regret and resentment from his past, he started to finally look ahead and saw that the tools he needed to succeed were always right in front of him. Tools such as guidance, community, mentors, and positive attitude. These things made his dreams accessible. There is never an open door to success behind us, but when we begin to pay attention to opportunities that will move us forward, just like this man realized, there will be open doors ahead of you. You just have to be willing to get close enough to the door for it to open up and show you the way. Now, the previous episodes focused on the first tools that this man learned would help him reach those dreams of his. They focused on guidance / mentors and community. And today we're talking about positive attitude. And while guidance and mentorship and community are so essential for us to live beyond our current circumstances and to not allow our circumstances to define us, a positive attitude is what will push you forward even more. As a quick story about myself, which You will hear this throughout future episodes because it is why I am here. While I did mention community helped with that, and that's absolutely for sure the reason I became so passionate about serving other people on their health journeys, I would not be where I'm at specifically today, like right here, right now, talking to you about these specific topics if it wasn't for my ability to learn the importance and power of mentality and attitude. We hear the word positive a lot. We hear that we need to be positive through life and an attitude of gratitude and optimism and don't be negative Nancy. And it's not like this is a new buzzword or anything that we've never heard before. But the reason why I saved it for last and why it was the end of kind of the toolkit that this man kind of learned about on his journey to succeeding and to move forward past his resentment and his regrets is because that was the tool that progressed me forward, that moved me to where I am today. See, I knew that my diabetes was not going to limit me. It wasn't going to define me. Kind of like this man from a young age, I thought that I wanted to be a physical therapist and I wanted to change the world. I've always been very goal-driven, but I had made a few mistakes because being that way, I move quickly, which isn't always a bad thing. I can guarantee you I always get work done. But when I move quickly, I think that I find the solution to things and I keep pushing even when times get tough. And so for my personal health journey, I began in undergrad when I thought I still wanted to be a physical therapist to really get into exercise. I was an exercise and sports science major. I loved it. I loved anatomy. I thought the body was the coolest thing, and I still do. But I all of a sudden thought that exercise was the solution to everything. And exercise is quite magical. It will make you feel like you can do anything. You can conquer the world. But despite exercising, some of the problems I still had with my label, my diabetes, the label that was placed on my life that I had no control over receiving that label, I still had really bad days, and exercising caused me to maybe lose some weight, to gain some strength, but it didn't help me improve my diabetes very much. It reduced my insulin needs a little bit, and it made me feel more confident, but then I became stagnant. And so then, around my senior year of undergrad, food kind of became a bigger part of me because what's funny about the exercise and science department, and I'm a sports nutritionist, I am a certified sports nutritionist, their emphasis on nutrition is very different than people that are health conscious. They focus on performance, which is okay, and they don't focus on kind of like the long-term effects of your diet. And I recognized that I followed the protocol that was the sports nutrition protocol, and I was having a lot of high blood sugars, which oftentimes left me not feeling good, and then I felt defeated, and I had a lot of days that I felt defeated. And kind of like this man, I had some successes thanks to the exercise, but I was constantly having to take some steps backwards to figure out what was wrong with me. And so by the time senior year came around, I recognized how important diet was for me to be successful. And that was life-changing. And I started to surround myself with people that understood how important health was because they all had big dreams. They all had a purpose for their life, and they recognized that they could not live up to their potential and purpose without figuring out their life first and their health, which started with diet. And that was phenomenal. I spent so much time researching and learning like what will support me. And that was a beautiful thing. But here's the moment of truth. At that point, I was teaching people how to live beyond their label, how to live beyond specifically diabetes, because that's what I was so familiar with. I was still struggling. I don't know what the label is that you have on your life, and if it's a self label that you've put on yourself, or if you received a diagnosis from your doctor, and if it's a chronic illness like diabetes. But I will tell you that for diabetes, although it felt like I had all the elements in place, diabetes caused me to have a really unhealthy relationship with food. Such an unhealthy relationship with food. And I started to feel so defeated because it was controlling me. I was eating well, but then I would like binge, or I'd be a closet eater, and that was not okay. There was something wrong with my mindset. And when I would eat incorrectly and binge, or just say like, whatever, diabetes isn't in control of me, and just eat whatever I wanted, or just binge on healthy food, I was taking those steps backwards all over again. And then I felt like I couldn't serve people anymore. And that moment, which honestly was just a little over a year ago, I recognized the power of mindset, the power of understanding what a small positive thought can do and how far it can carry you on your health journey. Being positive in life is not easy, which is where having that guidance and that community to tell you how to be positive and to help provide you with the tools to be positive is so significant. The moment I understood having the right mindset and really not listening to the negative people of this world, because a lot of people are negative with diabetes, and understanding that sometimes to have a positive mindset, I have to go against the grain. I have to be different. And I have to be okay with that, because I have a big plan for my life. I am still young, and I have a lot of lives I want to change and help free them of the label they have on their life. And if they can't get rid of the label, then learning how to live beyond it with hope and not helplessness, with faith and not fearfulness, and with determination and not defeat. My mom always said that she named me Hope for the future. And I'm here to tell you that I have hope for you. And I don't know where you're at on your journey, and I don't know if you have guidance yet, or if you've been plugged into a community, or if mindset is really a struggle for you, because it can be a daily struggle. And that's where I want to be as positive as possible, so that when you need it most, you can turn to this podcast, you can listen to it, and know that I am here for you to help you have a positive attitude. Because I promise you that some days you may feel terrible, and you may feel drained of energy, and you may be straight up worn out and exhausted. But if you can just find the thing that will help you stay positive, whether that's a community or guidance, or your why that will keep you going, your why that reminds you that you cannot love others until you love yourself. And to love yourself, you have to be positive about yourself. You have to be confident about who you are. That is the thing that will help propel you forward. And I hope that I can always remind you of that and serve you well here. So remember that, and remember how this man in the story in the beginning was focused on all the wrong things, and not even the wrong things. His dreams are not crazy. There's not an issue of making materialistic things your dreams, because a lot of times we do chase that. But the issue at hand is, one, that a lot of times when we do that, we are alone and we're isolated. And two, we oftentimes don't know how to find the right tools, because most of the time to find the right tools to bring you success in anything is going to involve you seeking guidance and having people to turn to, and therefore having a positive attitude. He reached those materialistic dreams, the car and the job, after he figured out how to do it and how to excel. And once he had the right tools, the coolest thing is, even if those are your dreams, your happiness will end up being rooted in who you are. And that's my hope for you, is that you are truly happy with who you are, despite what label may be placed on what feels like your forehead, and despite what you feel like other people think of you. You're beautiful and you're awesome. And I am so happy to be able to spend this time with you to remind you of all that you're capable of. Thanks so much for hanging out just a little bit longer. I greatly appreciate it. If you found this episode helpful or even a little bit life-changing, it would mean the world to me to have a review in iTunes. A review in iTunes just lets me know that I am actually providing you with the correct guidance and mentorship that you need to live beyond your label and to be confident in who you are. This episode was also brought to you by my next step guide in embracing your label with confidence, which is called Choose to Live. In Choose to Live, there is a checklist of what to ask your doctors. There's an audiobook. So if you like podcasts, an audiobook filled with affirmations to remind you of who you truly are, what you're really made of, as well as some really like homework and checklist and guidance for your family members so that they can support you along the way. This episode was about community, and you cannot do this journey alone. So if you're interested in learning more about Choose to Live, just visit www.icanlivebeyond.com, and you can find that in the show notes as well at livingbeyondwithhope.com. And otherwise, I will see you on the next episode.